Right, well, I've managed to clear the pipes, but now I'm just left with a diverter valve and hopefully not too much gunk in the holding tank. So this is what we're dealing with. It's just basically that much fur. Now that's just 9 months. I put that in June and we're now in March, or early April. So now I've got to try and get rid of that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to test out some different methods of actually getting rid of this stuff and see if they work. Okay, so we've got the diverter valve out now, and this is the damage. That's the actual pipe that comes from the toilet up to the diverter valve. This is the pipe that goes into the holding tank, which isn't too bad, and this is the one that goes straight out. I have to say I did clean this one already. So anyway, get cleaning. Okay, the scale is actually quite soft, and I'm trying to save this because I'm going to actually do a test on this to see what chemical works best on it. So I'm going to just scrape it out, and as I say, it is actually quite soft. And this is only 9 months old. So this is actually, I'm amazed at how bad this has got, how quickly. It looks disgusting, but actually it hasn't got much of a smell. It's got a slight urine-y smell, but nothing drastic. Okay, so this is just the scrapings from that small bit of pipe. I'm going to dismantle the valve in a minute and clean it out. But my plan is now to put each one in a glass and try different chemicals on it and see what happens. Okay, so we've got 4 descalers here. Unfortunately, some of them I can't get because as Spain's in lockdown, it's just what I can actually get. So we've got this one here, which is a drain cleaner with sodium hydroxide. We've got Domestos, which has got sodium hypochlorite. We've got alcohol vinegar, which is quite a strong acetic acid. And we've got apple vinegar. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to take a teaspoonful of each one of these, put it in the glass, and then we're going to add each one to the glass and add the chemicals. Okay, so I'm roughly going to try and get about a level teaspoonful of each of the calcium deposit. Okay, so I'm roughly going to put the same amount of liquid into each one. So this is the first one. Okay, there's a slight fizzing going on. I wouldn't say it's spectacular. Now we're going to try the spirit vinegar. Okay, a bit of bubbling going on there. Okay, the Domestos I'm going to use neat. So you may not see this because it's obviously, oh no, it's clear. Yeah, nothing's going on there at the moment. And then the final one is the sodium hydroxide, and I have got goggles on, so okay, so I've left those. It's 4:20. I'm going to leave them for half an hour and we'll see what happens. Well, I said I was going to come back after half an hour, but actually this is just 5 minutes. We're starting to get reactions already. So for the apple vinegar, there's a little bit of bubbling. I wouldn't say it's massive, but it is working. The one that's the most working is actually the spirit vinegar. That seems to be bubbling away like mad, which is pretty good. The sodium hypochlorite, the domestos, it seems to be actually dissolving and turning almost into like a paste, which could be quite a good thing. And the sodium hydroxide at the moment is doing absolutely nothing. So that's after 5 minutes. Okay, well the descaling has been working for half an hour now, and it's quite a spectacular one of them. The sodium hydroxide has actually done nothing at all. It hasn't moved. It seems to be exactly the same as it was, although it seems to have softened it. Yeah, I must admit, it does seem to have softened it. So maybe I didn't think there seemed to be no chemical reaction at all, but definitely it's dissolved it and turned it into a sludge, if you like. Although there's still some hard bits left in there, but they are soft. The sodium hypochlorite seemed to have worked the best of all of them. Really been very active, softened it right down almost into a pulp, and I thought that was the answer. Unfortunately, I'll read a little bit more onto the bottle. There's a notice here saying that it is dangerous to fish and to wildlife and to trees, and obviously we being on the boat, we can't use it, so that's a shame because that seemed to be the best one of all. The spirit vinegar has actually been fizzing away for quite a long time. So what I'll do is I'm going to tip this away before I tip away the high sodium hydroxide, the sodium hypochlorite. So, but it's still really chunks. I would say this looks alright, but it's still, there are chunks of calcium deposit left in there. So it may work as a sort of a long-term thing, but to actually descale, I think it may be a preventative, but it certainly isn't a very active descaler. If I tip it away, but it's still working. It's been working for half an hour now, still bubbling. So maybe if we left it on for an hour or so more, it would dissolve it. Yeah, so you can actually see some of the deposit is still there. Obviously it's a much weaker solution than the alkalis, but maybe this might help to stop it happening, but I can't see it actually descaling it. If I tip away the sodium hypochlorite now, you'll see it's just turned into a foam, and it really is very active, very good. I'm just ashamed about the fish thing. I'll have to do a bit more research into that, see actually how dangerous it really is, because obviously we are very much into looking after the wildlife, and the last thing we want to do is start killing things. Finally, we've got the apple vinegar, which didn't really do a great deal. It's been fizzing, but it's still chunks in there. I guess maybe if you use this and left it in the bowl, you could stand the liquid in there for maybe overnight. Maybe it might help, but it doesn't look particularly active. So that's the final. The cider vinegar, as you can see, is a bit lumpy. So a very small test. I'd like to try, I think it's called sulfonic acid, which is the normal descaling material, but unfortunately because of the situation we're in with the lockdown, it's very difficult to get hold of at the moment. So anyway, that's my test. Thanks for watching.